shadowed asylum, where the cursed never sleep. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Gates. The darkness of night had spread across the outskirts of the city. A light drizzle fell while thunder rolled above, echoing like a warning of some dreadful calamity about to descend upon the earth. 4 friends, Hassan, Ali, Zara, and Hamid, ran a YouTube channel called Dark Secrets Unveiled. Their passion was to sneak into mysterious places and reveal the truth to the world. In their search, they stumbled upon an old map. Marked on it was a place locals whispered about, the Shadowed Asylum. It was said this asylum had been suddenly shut down in the 1960s, after a string of bizarre deaths among the patients. But these deaths, people claimed, were not ordinary. Something far darker, something beyond human, had been at work. When they finally reached the asylum's rusted gates, a strong gust of wind rattled the trees. Carved into the metal in giant letters were the words, "No one leaves once they enter." Zara whispered nervously, "There's really something here." "I don't like this," but Hassan replied firmly, "We've come this far. We can't turn back now. It's our job to show the world the truth." And then with a long creak, the gate opened by itself. Chapter 2. Whispers in the walls. The moment they stepped inside, a stench gripped their noses. It was the smell of blood, rust, and rot all mingled together. The hallway walls were lined with old photographs, but the faces of the doctors and patients had been mutilated, as though someone had deliberately scratched out their eyes and mouths. Ali swept his torch across the corridor. Suddenly, a patient's room appeared in view. The door was wide open. Inside, an old chair sat with chains dangling from it. On those chains, dried blood still clung. Then a faint whisper seeped out from within the very walls. "Release us. Why have you come here?" Their steps froze. Hamid stammered, That voice, where did it come from?" Before anyone could answer, Zara noticed something else, a mirror hanging on the wall. In it, the reflections of the 4 friends stared back. But these weren't living reflections. Their eyes were closed, their lips had turned blue, and marks wrapped around their necks, like nooses had strangled them. Zara screamed, "That's not us! Those are our corpses." And then, the reflections in the mirror slowly opened their eyes. Chapter 3. The first victim. The night had grown even darker. Their footsteps echoed like rattling chains in the silence. As they moved deeper, they reached a vast hall. Old beds lay scattered, stained with blood and draped in rotting sheets. Suddenly, one of the beds began to shake. Their breath caught. Slowly, a corpse rose from the mattress. It was an old patient, half his face rotted away, and where his eyes should have been were only hollow black voids. When he opened his mouth, the sound that came out wasn't a voice, but the shrieking cries of countless humans. Hassan instinctively lifted his camera to record, but the moment the camera focused on the figure, the patient lunged forward, crashing into Hamid and pinning him to the floor. Hamid's screams echoed through the darkness as the corpse sank its teeth into his throat. Zara and Ali rushed to pull him away, but the figure vanished into thin air, leaving Hamid's body lifeless on the ground. His eyes were wide open, and yet a strange smile was frozen on his lips. From the walls came a chilling voice, "One is gone. 3 remain. The Shadowed Asylum, where the cursed never sleep." Chapter 4. The blood-stained corridor. Hamid's lifeless body lay in the hall. Tears streamed down Zara's face, but Hassan spoke in a hard voice. "We can't stop. If we do, the next victim will be us." They left Hamid's corpse behind and pressed onward. A long corridor stretched before them. The walls were smeared with blood, as though someone had scraped their hands across the surface to write their last desperate plea for help. With every step, their breathing grew heavier. Suddenly, blood began dripping from the ceiling. The drops splattered onto the floor, slowly forming words. "You should never have come." Ali's voice trembled as he whispered, "This place isn't just haunted. It's alive, and it's watching us." Then one of the doors creaked open by itself. Inside was nothing but darkness. Hassan flicked on his torch. What they saw inside made their knees weaken. Dozens of chairs lined the room, each one holding a corpse bound in heavy chains. Their empty eye sockets were all fixed on the 3 survivors. Chapter 5. The doctor's return. At that moment, a deep voice thundered through the chamber. My patients do not appreciate uninvited guests." From a crack in the wall, a figure emerged. A man in a white coat stained with dried blood. In his hand gleamed a surgical saw, and his eyes burned with madness. It was the asylum's old doctor, the very one rumored to have conducted satanic experiments on his patients. Zara whispered, trembling. "He's not alive. He's a revenant." The doctor stepped closer, grinning. "These patients were once alive. I imprisoned them forever, and now you will join them." With a sudden lunge, he swung his saw toward Ali. Ali barely dodged, but the blade tore across his arm, leaving a deep gash. Blood poured down his sleeve. The doctor licked the blood from the blade and hissed, "Exactly what I needed. Fresh blood keeps the asylum alive." All around them, chains on the walls began to rattle and slither like serpents. Hassan yanked Ali away, dragging him toward the door. But in the chaos, Zara was left behind. The doctor leaned close, his voice a chilling whisper. "Another patient is ready." Chapter 6. Zara's nightmare. Zara tried to run, but the chains coiled around her ankles and dragged her down. She screamed in terror. Hassan and Ali rushed back, pulling with all their strength, but the chains yanked her toward the darkness. Through her sobs, Zara cried, "Please, don't let me die." At that moment, an old mirror on the wall began to glow. In its reflection, Zara appeared, but she was no longer alive. Her throat was slit and blood streamed from her eyes. The doctor's voice echoed again. "She is already dead. You just don't know it yet." Deep cuts began carving themselves into Zara's body, as though invisible claws were tearing her apart from the inside. Her scream shook the entire hall. And then, silence. When Hassan and Ali opened their eyes, Zara was gone. Only her blood-soaked scarf lay on the floor. On the wall, written in dripping crimson letters, were the words, "Two are gone. Two remain. The Shadowed Asylum, where the cursed never sleep." Chapter 7. The Room of Whispers. Hassan and Ali stumbled blindly into a dark room. The walls were pitch black, but upon closer look, they weren't walls at all. They were covered in thousands of lips, whispering endlessly. Every lip spoke a different sound, under some crying, some laughing, some screaming in agony. Ali covered his ears, but the voices pierced directly into his mind. "Your death is near. You will never escape." Suddenly, the lips on the walls opened wider and blood began to seep from them. The crimson pooled on the floor, spreading fast, until their feet began to sink into it. Hassan grabbed Ali and yanked open the door, but beyond it was nothing but pure darkness. And from that darkness, thousands of hands emerged, clawing out, dragging them inward. Chapter 8. The Curse of the Asylum. They were pulled through the void and hurled into a vast hall. At its center sat a throne, and upon it the doctor, but this time he wasn't alone. Behind him stood the legion of spirits, all the damned souls who had once been prisoners of this asylum. The doctor's grin stretched unnaturally wide. "I told you, this place does not give death. It gives eternal imprisonment. Whoever comes here never leaves." Ali's voice trembled as he asked, "Why us? What do you want from us?" The doctor rose, raising his blood-stained saw. "The asylum must be fed. Blood keeps it alive. Your souls will become its feast." The spirits advanced, their shrieks echoing through the chamber. Hassan and Ali tried to run, but the ghosts closed in, sealing every path. Chapter 9. The Last Choice. Ali's hand trembled as he pulled out the lighter he had carried since the beginning. "Hassan," he whispered, voice shaking, "maybe this is the only way." "We have to burn it," Hassan shouted back in despair. "Fire can't destroy this place. It's built from the damned." But Ali wrapped his blood-soaked cloth around the lighter, igniting it. With a desperate cry, he hurled the flame against the wall. At first, nothing happened. Then, the walls roared to life, erupting into fire. The spirits screamed, their bodies twisting in agony. The doctor bellowed in rage, "Fools! Fire cannot burn my fortress. It will consume you." And he was right. The flames spread in all directions, engulfing everything. Hassan and Ali were swallowed by the inferno. As his body burned, Ali gasped his final words through the smoke. "At least, we won't be trapped here forever." Chapter 10. The endless nightmare at dawn. Villagers wandered near the asylum after seeing smoke in the night. But the asylum stood untouched. Its walls showed no sign of fire. It looked exactly as it always had. except for one new detail. Written in dripping blood across its wall were the words, "4 entered. 4 are gone. Now we wait for the next." And inside the asylum, in the same cursed hall, 4 new corpses sat chained to chairs: Hamid, Zara, Ali, Hassan. Their eyes were wide open and their lips moved, whispering in unison the same eternal curse. No one ever leaves this place alive. The end, or just another beginning.